Hello, I'm Tom Coleman, and I am the Columbia County Judge. When I graduated from law school at the University of Florida, I moved to Lake City in 1977. I was 24 years of age, and I started as an assistant state attorney in this courthouse, not the way it's built now, but a former part of the courthouse. And at that time of the year when I got here, the festival was over with. It was happened earlier in the year, as it always does in February, and this was around May. And come 1978, as an assistant state attorney with some comfort here in this area, and still with an office inside, albeit small, inside the courthouse, I heard there was going to be some kind of festival or going on that particular Friday. And knowing nothing of it, in '78, I remember going out the front door of the courthouse with others to see what was going on, and seeing this huge, to me at the time, panoply in front of me of people, places to eat, a band playing, children singing, children dancing as you watched it go on, and just not knowing many people in Lake City, just seemed like the whole town was there at that time. And I came to appreciate the festival over the years, always working here, always being in the courthouse, and always going out. And back in the day, that first year for sure, maybe the second, they didn't know not to have jury trials then. We had a jury trial going on, and all of a sudden the band strikes up outside and the jurors can't hear. So now, typically on those Fridays that it kicks off, the courthouse is kind of at a standstill. It's open for people to come in and out of, but that was my first taste of it. And then as I continued to go and to appreciate it, I noticed over the years that everybody was just always having a good time, and they enjoyed it. I didn't think about economic impact or anything else at the time. And then as the years went by, a few years went by, obviously more than a few, and I got invited to begin coming to the meetings with the stated goal that they would like me to serve as commanding general on some time in the future, about 3 years out. They weren't going to hand it to me. They said, we need you to come and see what we do, what we're about. Read our articles of incorporation, read what our bylaws and what we stand for and all. And I said, sure, and I'd like to do that. Let me check into it. And I began doing that. And that was my first exposure to the committee. And the committee was simply the hardest working, most organized group I'd ever worked with. And the other thing that's huge to me, they did not care who got credit for doing this or that or the other. We do this. We do this together. And I appreciated it then. When I became commanding general and had to be the leader of the group, in the sense of more of a titular leader, the face, the speaker, but still I would, when I showed I could, then I was in charge of the meetings. And it made life so much easier when you were dealing with folks like that. And so I became very impressed with that and what they were going to do and the caliber of people I was dealing with. And I continued to work. And my first year as commanding general was quite an experience. I had so much to learn and so much to get used to, going around dressed up and things like that.
I'm Bud Thayer. I'm Lieutenant Colonel with the Blue-Gray Army and the Military Liaison Officer between the Blue-Gray Army and the troops at the field. I'm also a board member of the Olustee CSO, the Citizens Support Organization. And together we try to put this event on every year, and it's been very successful for many, many years. I've been a reenactor for about 35 years myself. So I've been involved in it regularly for quite a while. And it's the camaraderie, it's the education that we try to convey to the young folks that don't get enough history in school, really, to give them some idea of what our forefathers went through back then, which is pretty horrendous. But we can give them a sampling of it. And of course, when they come out to the battlefield, we encourage them to talk with the soldiers, visit the sutlers that are selling goods and equipment and so forth, visit the camps. There are many authentic camps out there that we'd like them to see. Visit the cavalry, visit the artillery. There's a lot for them to learn out there, and we encourage them to do so. I've always had an interest in the war between the states as well as the Second World War. They're just my two periods of history that I felt closest to. When I moved to Ocala, I got in with an infantry unit out of McIntosh under command of Ray Jerome, who was instrumental in starting the reenactment at Olustee in the first place. It was an infantry unit, and after marching for 2 or 3 years, I decided cavalry was the best bet. I'd rather march on 4 feet than 2. So I've been with cavalry ever since, 2nd Florida Cavalry. Each reenactor needs to belong to a particular unit, whether it's a brigade, a company, a regiment. He has to belong to a particular unit. He can't just wander out in the field and carry a gun and start shooting. And each unit will train their troops accordingly. Train them for cavalry, train them for artillery, or train them for infantry, whatever they need. One of my first battles, I helped with the pyrotechnics at Olustee, just to kind of get a feel for it. This is going, way back in the early 80s. We try to get an education on any facet of it that we might be involved in, and learn to proceed as cautiously, carefully, safely as possible, and at the same time put on a good show and enjoy ourselves.
Now it's time to